Ever wondered whether one could use business practices to make a love relationship perfect? I'm Dr. Frank Douglas, the host of the Antifragility Reframe podcast. And my guest today is Dr. Robin Buckley. She is an executive coach and a couples coach. She's also the author of Marriage Inc., the boardroom blueprint for a lasting love. And today we shall explore her view of how to use business practices to ensure lasting love. Dr. Buckley, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Douglas.
Well, I am really looking forward to the 15 or so minutes that we have together. The pre-interview, I was really quite intrigued by your journey, particularly a journey of, as I said at some point during it, Doctor, uh, heal thyself.
Yes, so
I
true.
don't know if you remember that.
I do.
So could you share with us some aspects of your journey so that we can really uh, exemplify things that you have done either for yourself or for your clients, of course, without revealing confidences, that reflect resilience and anti-fragility.
Sure. So the irony of me writing a book, Frank, about how to have a successful marriage is that, and you're in reference to your comment of healing thyself, is I've been divorced twice. I am now in my third and last marriage for sure, but the first two marriages were not successful. And a big reason was because I had no plan. I was like so many individuals who jump into relationships and just kind of wing it and hope and pray and have faith that it'll be okay, but no structure, no strategy. And there is nothing in our lives. I'm sure you would attest to this, Frank. There's nothing in our life we do with success without a plan. Our education, our careers, our retirement, our finances, even our meal planning is planned. And yet our relationships are like, well, we'll see what happens. And that is it's the most important part of our lives, our most important connection. And I am tired of people just really trying to attempt it by chance.
So tell me, let me preface this by saying the following. Uh, we focus on reframing, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and we focus on anti-fragile reframing. Namely, we all have stresses, we all have challenges, but it's not enough to bounce back from them. It's important to bounce forward. That
Agreed.
we are anti-fragile.
Mhm.
Can you give us, given given your journey, could you give us an anecdote or two of something for which you had to uh, do one of the things that we talk about, reframing, changing perspective?
Absolutely. Well, in reference to that first part of my story, it's not considering divorce a failure. It's not seeing it as some kind of black mark against me. And honestly, it started to happen because of my mom. So before my mom passed, she would regularly introduce me in one of two ways. She would say, "This is my daughter, the doctor." She's not a real doctor, but she's a doctor. And I would laugh. And she would say, and she's been divorced twice. And she would say it with pride. She would say, as she would explain to people, she would say, I love that my daughter was able to have an education and a career that when she wasn't happy, she made changes. She didn't put up with being dissatisfied or unhappy. She got out of relationships that were not working for her before they deteriorated her. And when the first time I heard her say that, it really resonated with me that you're right. This wasn't a failure. This was a learning opportunity of what I really wanted and who I really wanted to grow and evolve with. So I'd love to take credit that I got myself there on my own, but it was hearing her words. The very first time she said it, I was shocked because I was the first person in my entire extended family, cousins and all that, to have ever been divorced in a Irish Catholic family, which did not believe in
Mm.
divorce. And to hear my mom say that was such a door opened for me to say, you're right, mom, that you're right. I did this because I'm a strong individual and had the growth to be able to do that for myself. So,
Where did you think your mother got that wisdom?
oh my goodness, my mom was
A
amazing.
learning opportunity.
Yeah, she just never let anything stop her, Frank. And probably some of her best anecdotes, and if she was here to share it, was she had breast cancer twice. Unfortunately, the second time got her. But the first time she had it, it was probably about 20 years ago now. She was diagnosed. She discovered the breast cancer and she went for regular, preventative methods like mammograms, but she's the one that found it. She went to her gynecologist and her gynecologist said, no, 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 we just did a mammogram. There's nothing there. And she said, no, there's something there. And she pushed for her own, she advocated for herself.
As I mentioned earlier, and this was, of course, stimulated by Nassim Taleb's book, Antifragile, where he talks about, getting over stress is
Mhm.
or a challenge is being resilient, but wouldn't it be better if one were stronger
Yes.
after a stress or challenge? I've turned that into resilience is bouncing back, as we've said before, but anti-fragile is bouncing forward.
Yes.
He certainly had, had that viewpoint.
Mhm.
In your book, as you talk about this, can you share with us some of the precepts that
Sure.
you have in your book?
Sure. So, in order to create a structure for love and relationships, I created a framework around the idea of using business principles in our romantic relationships, which sounds very contrary. And the critique I often get is, Robin, that's too structures. It's too cold. It's too clinical. It's too robotic. And what it actually does, Frank, is it provides freedom for love and attraction and all the bells and whistles that we associate with relationships to really grow because you've created a structure for them to grow. You've created a structure where you don't have to really spend cognitive or emotional energy around logistics or miscommunication because the business principles help really make those more effective. So, as an example, I recommend to couples that they establish 4 scheduled meetings for themselves. One is a daily meeting where they meet for 5 to 10 minutes. My husband and I just did ours every day for just connection. So, this isn't how is your day fine? How is your day fine? This is something that goes to a deeper connection. So, my question to him today was, what's something that so far today has made you smile? And he shared that with me. And then he asked me, he said, yesterday you seemed off. You didn't seem like yourself. Was there something that was challenging you yesterday that I can help you with? That is such a deeper level of support and connection every day. And it's like employees using Slack. They use Slack to maintain connections and they don't hopefully spend hours on Slack, but enough to make that connection. So that's what couples do. And then they build in weekly, monthly, and quarterly meetings for similar reasons. The weekly meetings are to cover the logistics, 20 minutes once a week to say, hey, we have this coming up this week. Who's going to take care of that? So you don't have, nobody's blindsided. Everybody knows their respective chores and tasks and responsibilities, and you can move forward with the week. Your monthly check ins, those are more in depth. That's a weekly review of all aspects that affect your relationship, from finances to dependence to sex and intimacy to communication to health goals. And I suggest that couples use a SWOT analysis, just like in business: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you're not just focusing on the things that are going wrong, you're also focusing on where can there be growth and what are we doing well to replicate. And then the final one, again, much like businesses, is a quarterly retreat where a couple spends 5 hours away from the house or a whole weekend if they can afford to do so, where they talk about what is their vision for the next quarter and how are they going to get there together, as well as creating time for connection. So we know why businesses have all 4 levels of those meetings. And the benefits that businesses have from those meetings are the same benefits that a couple can have if they build it into their schedule.
How do you advise Um, and let's take perhaps the quarterly meetings. How do you advise that they make corrections during this quarterly connection, if I may use a
Absolutely.
play on words?
Yeah, so they get to look back at the 3 months prior. And ideally, they've used, again, I recommend using an agenda for their monthly meetings, and they keep track of the topics that needed improvement, that were challenging their relationship. That would fall under the weakness category in a SWOT analysis. The threats that came up that they might not have foreseen that would get in the way. And they use that data to then define what their vision is going to look like moving forward. What are their goals that they're hoping to achieve? What is the end result if they do in terms of the biggest vision? Is it going to be that there's less conflict in the house? Is it going to be that there's more time for connection? They get to establish that so they have a direction of how to move forward again, instead of just like, I don't know, let's see how the next couple months goes, or I feel like it's getting better. And when couples say they feel like it's getting better, Frank, I almost want to crawl out of my skin, because I'm like, no, I want the data. I want the evidence and the proof that it's getting better. How are you charting this? How are you keeping track of it? Again, not to make it clinical, but to make it definable and succeedable.
One of the five elements we've talked about, a couple of them. We've talked about changing perspective, uh,
Mhm.
shifting perspective, which your mother really exemplified uh, and really gave you the aha a moment. One you've just talked about, that we talk about, is growth outcome. To be anti-fragile is to focus on
Absolutely.
growth outcome. Another one we talk about, and that is, and you're probably doing this, I'm sure, with your clients, is multiplying benefit,
Mm,
namely looking for those solutions uh, which applied would actually benefit others.
yeah.
Any comment on that?
Yeah, I call it compounding interest, because, again, using that business framework, that when you do something, it very likely doesn't just impact that one little area of your relationship. So, for example, the daily 5 to 10 minutes of connection, it doesn't just enhance connection in that moment. It when you have it built in, it enhances connection so that the connection grows. It also enhances communication, because there's a sense of safety and an ability to practice communication every single day. And of course, that's going to spin off to enhance intimacy and all 5 levels, because couples forget that there's 5 types of intimacy. So you're absolutely right that when we are doing these things, it compounds our ability to be successful and effective and enjoy our relationships.
Believe it or not, 15 minutes
Oh my gosh, how did that
was
happen, Frank?
up. So, on the end note, can you tell us, a few of the five levels of intimacy?
Sure. The 5 are physical intimacy, which is what most people associate with; experiential, which is making memories through shared experiences; spiritual, which is not just religious, it's just a bigger value system; emotional, which is that vulnerability and communication; and then intellectual, which is that curiosity and sharing ideas. And so couples can choose more than just sex as a way to connect. And I think when couples get creative, they find lots of opportunities to develop that connection and intimacy.
Robin, thank you very much. And I
Thank
think
you, Frank.
no, this is really wonderful, because leaving us with not only the physical connection, but the spiritual, the emotional, how those connections actually strengthen us,
Absolutely.
help us to be anti-fragile.
Agreed. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for spending the time with us.